Coming up, some Philadelphia Eagles news to get to as the Birds come out of the bye week and as the Eagles tilt their focus to Eagles-Browns in Week 6. They have received some positive news on the injury front going into this game against the Cleveland Browns. We're going to discuss that and a lot more here on today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm Chase Sr. A programming reminder, obviously, I'm not in the Chat Sports studios right now. I'm in Washington, D.C. as my sister got married yesterday, but I'll be back in the studio on Wednesday for a live show. Then we'll rip another watch party on Sunday with an hour pregame show in the lead up to kickoff, the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. And so if you want Eagles coverage every single day with shows like this, news updates, a lot of analysis, live shows, and watch parties, hit that subscribe button. We are 530 people away from 87,000 subscribers. Let's get there prior to Sunday's matchup against this bad Browns team. So according to James Palmer, NFL insider who is now working for, I believe, Underdog Fantasy, but used to work for the NFL Network. He has some Philadelphia ties growing up in the area. The Eagles are expected to have both of their starting 1-2 wide receivers back, and A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. Brown suffered a hamstring injury going into the Eagles' Week 2 game against the Atlanta Falcons. He has since missed the last 3 games here in the regular season. And then DeVonta Smith on that dirty hit toward the end of that Saints improbable comeback victory for Philadelphia suffered a concussion that caused him to miss the rest of that game. And then the following week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And as we know, Eagles just did not show up in that game against the Bucs. Defensively, they were horrendous. Offensively, they were an embarrassment. And they looked like a shell of themselves with that offense without A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. And anytime you're without one of the top wide receiver duos in the National Football League and you're starting right tackle, your team is going to look a little bit different. But when it comes down to Jalen Hurts, you give him $250 million and you pay him $50 million per year to elevate his teammates, to be that franchise quarterback, to carry the offense in moments like that game against Tampa Bay when you're without some of your star power. He wasn't able to do that for reasons of him not playing well, turning the football over. His turnovers continue to be a massive problem for him. 54 turnovers in 60 games is not a sustainable way to play football, but the defense also didn't give Jalen Hurts and that offense a chance in that game too, because they were down in such an early hole and they got smacked in the chin right from the start of that ball game, and they were never able to recover. So with A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith coming back, you would think that this Eagles offense is going to look like the unit that we saw in Week 1 against a really solid Green Bay Packers team, and that's the type of offense that this team is capable of putting on the field, putting on film week in and week out. And Jalen Hurts throughout his starting career has had the luxury of being surrounded by some really good players. And with A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, they have both not missed a lot of action. And so with them coming back, hopefully Hurts is able to get back on track. I had said going into the bye week when I was talking about some of my bye week changes that I want to see Philadelphia because Hurts just isn't trusting himself. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's pressing. He's turning it over at a rapid rate to run the offense through Saquon Barkley. I think that's the smartest approach for Philadelphia as we move forward because, 1, he's a really special player. 2, that's going to help set up the pass. 3, I think it helps out Jalen Hurts. And then that will lead to explosive plays, in the pass game. And you think back to that offensive performance in Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers, again, I think that's what Philadelphia is capable of doing on the offensive side of the ball. They put up 34 points, 410 yards of offense. They were multifaceted. Saquon Barkley had a hat trick. Great debut for him as an Eagle, running it, catching it. A.J. Brown was really explosive. He had that near 70-yard touchdown pass, which Hurts laid it right on him, right in the bucket, as he cooked Jair Alexander. DeVonta Smith was really good. And against the New Orleans Saints, we saw the impact that Dallas Goedert is capable of having. The Eagles still have one of the top offensive lines in the league. So I think that performance against Green Bay is a good indicator of what this offense can do, what they're capable of, and hopefully what the norm is for this Eagles offense moving forward. Because even if the defense continues to be bad, Philadelphia can still be paced by that offense, and that can kind of supplement having a bad defense if the offense can carry the team. But if they don't reach expectations, Hurts continues to shoot the offense in the foot and kill this team and turn the football over, and then you're playing bad defense. That's a snowball effect, which was the result of that blowout loss against Tampa Bay. As for Lane Johnson here, John Clark reported that Lane Johnson should be available as well. So you're going to get an all-pro right tackle back, an all-pro wide receiver in A.J. Brown back, and then one of the top number 2 wide receivers in the game who's capable of being a number 1 in DeVonta Smith back in the lineup as well. As for the Cleveland Browns, that's the next opponent on the schedule for the Eagles. They are a terrible team. Defense is pretty good. They've been hurt by Myles Garrett not being healthy, but the Browns are 1-4. They lost over the weekend 34-13 to Washington. Deshaun Watson has completely just lost his talent level from his final season in Houston when he put up massive numbers, was terrific, and then the weird scandal happened with the masseuses, and the Browns give him a fully guaranteed contract. It's ended up being one of the worst moves, one of the worst contracts in the history of the National Football League. Watson this year has been bad. Now, he has not been helped by an awful offensive line, which once again really struggled against Washington. Watson was sacked 7 times against the Commanders, but he was 15-28, 4.5 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, no picks. He had a QBR of 8.5. That is really hard to do. And a lot of Browns fans have said it's not just Deshaun Watson, it's the offensive line. No, it's partially Deshaun Watson too, because last year it was an indictment on Deshaun Watson that Joe Flacco was able to come in and lead the Browns to a hot second half of the season in which they were able to make the playoffs. Now, Kevin Stefanski did say that he is not going to make a quarterback change. Jameis Winston came in. He was 1 of 1, a 16-yard pass against the Commanders. He said that Watson's still going to be the quarterback. He has to coach better. They have to play better. We'll see what happens with Nick Chubb if he's able to come back in this game. A bright spot for Cleveland. They did run it 23 times for 104 yards, but this should be an opportunity for this Eagles defense to feast against a porous and bad Browns offense. They should be able to generate pressure on the quarterback. They're going to need to stop the run. And Deshaun Watson and Cleveland just haven't been capable of really generating explosive plays in the pass game. Other Eagles injury news here. The practice windows did open up for Sidney Brown and Anais Smith as of Monday evening, so that means that they are getting closer to a return as well. And specifically with Sidney Brown, I think he's going to be able to help out this defense, give them some thump, give them some speed, physicality, and a little bit of swagger on that side of the ball. Elsewhere in the division, Eagles had a bye. Things didn't really go well for Philadelphia during the bye week as far as their divisional foes and this NFC East race. You had the Commanders crushing the Cleveland Browns, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Dak was able to lead a 15-play, 70-yard drive in under 5 minutes to win that ball game for Dallas, and you could see just the relief on Mike McCarthy's face as Dak was able to throw that game-winning touchdown. So, good win for the Cowboys on the road against a solid Steelers team and one of the top defenses in the NFL. You have to give props where credit is due. And then the New York Giants able to beat the Seattle Seahawks in one of the surprise upsets during this Week 5 schedule. So wanted to pass along some Eagles news, some Eagles notes, some observations and analysis going into this Week 6 game against the Cleveland Browns. Coming to you from the porch of my sister and her now husband's house, which is very new and exciting to say, as she got married yesterday at Abraham Lincoln's Cottage, able to take in some history, chop it up with some family. And if you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan, there was a funny moment during the ceremony where Nick Castellanos hit that walk-off and there was a big cheer, and luckily I didn't have to worry about the Eagles playing in that game. I told my sister for years, don't get married in the fall, don't get married during football season, don't get married on the Sunday. She did all three. Does she love me? Maybe not. Just kidding. She does. We had a great day yesterday, but excited to talk Eagles here and excited to talk Eagles once we get back in the studio. And tomorrow I'll bring you another video from the at-home studio. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. Regardless of where I am, I'm always bringing the heat, always talking birds. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you soon here on the show. Peace.